a market preview of AI on Wall Street heading into the fall. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Last week, we did a show about the 5 questions that would shape the near-term future of generative AI, and one of the big ones was how Wall Street would think about Gen AI heading into this autumn season. Reuters did a little bit of a summary of the market as a whole, summing it up by saying tech market values fall on AI costs and recession fears. And basically the idea here was that in August, there were 2 big reasons, or seemingly 2 big reasons at least, that companies like Alphabet and the other Magnificent Seven companies had a bit of a struggle. One was macro, a rising risk that the market was placing on the possibility of a recession. But the second was the narrative concerns around the ongoing and even escalating AI infrastructure build-out cost. One of the best examples of this was Nvidia, whose share price fell by 7.7% in the last week of August. That came after it projected third-quarter gross margins below estimates and reported revenues that only slightly outperformed investor expectations. Interestingly, Reuters framed it as only met expectations, even though it was actually a couple $2 billion over analyst average estimates. Still, only being a couple billion over, not being some huge blowout, did feel like it met expectations. One counterweight to this came from Meta that showed some ROI from AI investment based on strong digital ad revenue growth. Still, by and large, the narrative heading into the fall is summed up by this Bloomberg piece. Shorts are circling some of the AI boom's biggest question marks. Bloomberg writes, "It's the story of so many stock market manias. A transformative technology juices a few companies, a bunch of more questionable outfits follow in their wake, and Wall Street buys it all. Then time sorts out what's real from fake." Now, this specific report looks at a group of companies that have been recently targeted by bearish research reports. Hindenburg Research, for example, went in on server maker Supermicro, ripping around $10 billion of the company's $36 billion market capitalization off the top last week. And other companies like Lumen and Symbiotic have also faced bearish reports, although perhaps nothing on the same level. Now, interestingly, this report makes it clear that there is a big difference between the Nvidias of the world, even though Nvidia did fall last week, and the hangers-on that benefited from the tailwinds set by companies like Nvidia. Mahoney Asset Management CEO Ken Mahoney characterized what the market is doing as separating winners and losers, pointing out, quote, "Nvidia and the other big AI plays in the Magnificent Seven have been largely consistent with results and growth. That's what sets them apart from the likes of Supermicro, which have been sporadic." Hindenburg came back again on Thursday with another report with an even more dramatic accusation against iLearning Engine's holdings, accusing it of faking its financial figures. While the company denied it in a release, shares were still down 53%. One of the things that I've tried to make clear on this show is that Wall Street repricing some of these companies is not the same as AI being the next great bubble. John Belton of Gabelli Funds put it this way: "The stock market always has a way of moving too far too fast and then going through a period of digestion. For a lot of these companies, we're in a healthy period of digestion." Now, one interesting little bit of speculation is at what point some of these big private market AI companies will have to go public. Corey Weinberg from The Information wrote a piece this week called "Why OpenAI Needs an IPO" that outlines a set of reasons that the company might want to consider something like this in the future. That includes the incredible capital intensiveness of OpenAI's business model, the potential that private capital might be running dry or might be problematic, with the US not necessarily loving a big dose of funding from a sovereign wealth fund in the Middle East, for example. And while Corey is clear that he's, quote, "thinking about the following set of facts rather than acting on any particular news tip," I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of this chatter in the months to come. Staying on news from these public market companies touching AI, people are digging in a little bit more deeply to Meta's recently announced AI numbers. We discussed last week that Zuckerberg had said that Meta's AI tools have more than 400 million monthly users and more than 185 million weekly users, but some wondered if that was driven by accidental usage, given that AI rolled out as just an extension of the search bar. Microsoft is dealing with its own challenges. From the Wall Street Journal, Microsoft rolled out AI PCs that can't play top games, and there's no quick fix. The short of this story is that in the process of getting a new generation of chips that are good enough to actually run these AI applications, Microsoft has made some of its most cutting-edge laptops incompatible with games like League of Legends and Fortnite, which are made instead to work with Intel's x86 chip. An independent research analyst tested 1,300 PC games and found only about half ran smoothly on the new AI-focused PCs. Now, obviously, it seems like this will likely not be all that much of a problem in the long run, but in the short run, it's another sign of the potential bumpiness of adoption that we're likely to experience. Lastly, today in the headlines, a follow-up from our long read about the homework apocalypse. Axios pointed out that even beyond AI, schools are having a rethink when it comes to homework. In 2012, for example, 21% of 13-year-old students said that they had no homework assigned. In 2020, that figure had gone up to 29%, and by 2023, it was up to 37%. Another study they referenced found that 67% of high school students cited homework load as a major source of stress, which went up to 80% among those doing 3 or more hours of homework a day. Then there's recently a bill that was passed by California's legislature that would recommend that school districts evaluate the mental and physical health impacts of homework assignments as well. One Assembly member, Pilar Schiavo, said, quote, "As a single mom, I only have a couple of hours with my kid at night before they have to go to bed. Spending most of that struggling to get homework done creates a lot of stress on a family." The point here is that it's not just AI forcing this conversation, although certainly AI is forcing it a lot faster. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.